This is part two of our teaching that we're doing on we're calling this the third letter. And this is in reference to the third letter in the Creator's name. This is part two of our session. And if you did not see the first one, then I encourage you to go back and listen to the first teaching that we did on this. But we're talking about the fact is that in the third letter of the Creator's name seems to be a lot of confusion about how that letter should be pronounced, because of, and the reason for that is because modern Hebrew has changed the pronunciation of the Creator's name, and that is why we have all these variations of the name of Yahuwah. That is the correct way of pronouncing his name. Yahweh and Yehovah, Jehovah, Yahweh. All those names are not only mispronunciations, they're really corrupting the name of our Creator. And I hope that you're not offended by that. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm not trying to put you down. I'm not trying, because for the first 5 years that I was studying the Hebrew, for about the first year and a half, I thought his name was Yahweh, and that's what I had taught and written out. And but once you find out that you're wrong in something, don't try to hold on to something and because you want to be right. I had to humble myself and say, no, I missed it. I did not study enough. I did not dig deep enough to find the truth. And so, with that said, we have to let go of, any kind of prejudices that we might have. If you want to know the truth, and I wasn't, prejudiced one way or the other. I wanted to know what his name, the Creator's name was, how to pronounce his name. Knew that there had to be, even though I was told that there was no way to know how to pronounce his name. And I'm sure that you may have even been exposed to that. Those are all lies, because, Yahuwah would not have given us his name in the scriptures approximately 7,000 times if he did not ever want his name to be pronounced, if he did not want us to know his name. And the scriptures are just quite the opposite of that. It says that we are to know his name, and that we are to proclaim his name, and that we're to make his name known, and that we're to esteem his name as set apart and unique. And how can you do all those things unless you know it and know how to pronounce or say his name? Again, we're talking about the third letter of the Creator's name, which is this letter here. It looks like a hook and or a nail. And we talked about the fact is in modern Hebrew it's referred to as a wa or a vav. But in ancient Hebrew, this is known as uah, or a u sound. And that's the sound that the letter made, was the u sound. With its two u's put together, would give you the u, not an o sound, but the u sound with two u's put together is how this letter is pronounced. I gave you in our last session some words, and I wrote some of this up on the board here. The word Yahudah. This is the third letter that we're talking about here in the word Yahudah. In fact, that's the Creator's name. That's one of the ways, too, that we know that the Creator's name is pronounced as Yahuwah, because Yahudah has always been pronounced that way. It's never been Yahwada or Yahvada, but it's been Yahudah. There's the letter there. This is just the English letter that we use to transliterate the letter that we're talking about. So that's the sound of that letter, U. Now, it also, like I said, if you remove the D, just to add a little bit about the Creator's name, if you take away the D, here you have the Creator's name, Yahuwah. Did not Yahuwah say that he had given the children of Yasharel his name, and he called them Yehudah? They were referred to as Yahudi, or which would be an individual, which is really where we get the word Jew eventually evolved into this, or the Yahudim, which would be more than one Jew. And so Yahu, there's the third letter again. That's where we have the pronunciation of that letter as the U sound. Ruth in the scriptures. This is the letter here. That's the letter that we're talking about. That looks like a hook. She had to be. You could not pronounce her name with a W or even a V. You cannot pronounce her name. So we know that this letter is a U. Husha, then this is Yahusha, or the person you know as Joshua. Before Moses changed his name, he added the letter Yod to his name when he became Yahusha. But the U sound, there it is there, Husha. In fact, in your scriptures, it's the book of hope. What they corrupted his name Husha into actually Hosea that you'll see in your scriptures, but that's not the prophet's name. The prophet's name was Husha, and but anyway, the U sound is apparent in his name there as well. You know, in ancient Hebrew, without vowel points, was how this letter was pronounced. The word shalom or shalom, actually in ancient Hebrew, is pronounced shalom was pronounced as shalom, but the U sound is the letter that's there. And in modern Hebrew, they changed that letter again to get the O sound, the shalom part, the O part. But in ancient Hebrew, there was not an O letter; it was the U sound. And but with modern vowel points, they changed it now, and it's pronounced as shalom. But in ancient Hebrew, it was shalom. So these are words. These are and the word Jerusalem. I didn't write that out, but the word Yaru, that's how it's originally pronounced. It wasn't Jerusalem. There was not a J letter in Hebrew, and so it never was pronounced as Jerusalem. It was Yaru, Shalim or Shalom, Shalom. Actually, that's before they changed it. That's what it was pronounced as, because it's the city where Yahuwah rules in completeness, or that's what that word shalom means. Is not just mean peace. It's talking about wholeness or completeness or not lacking anything. It's the city of Yahuwah. That's where he said he put his name. I put my name in that city, he said. I put my name there, and that's where I've chosen to dwell, and that's my resting place. So it's the city of Yahuwah, and that's why it's spelled out as Yaru Shalom, or Shalom would be the way it really should be pronounced. But in modern times we refer to it as Jerusalem or Yarushalayim. But that's how it was pronounced. But the U sound, as you hear it when you say Yaru, that's the letter we're talking about, Uah, and that's the way it had to be pronounced without vowel points. So we're showing you these things so you know that when the Creator's name was written in ancient Hebrew, that third letter had the U sound, not a W sound, nor a V sound. Now, another thing I want to cover is when people use letters to write out the English letters to write out, this is just the modern script of the Creator's name, the Yod, the He, the Uah, and the He. When they write out the Creator's name in English letters, some people will put a W in here. In other words, they'll write out all the letters, and they use, there's actually 7 letters. I had a friend of mine, ask me about this today, and I thought it was a great question, because some people have this idea that these are 7 letters, and Yahuwah being that's his letter of completion, that it should be written with 7 letters instead of 6. Keep in mind this. First of all, this is his name written in 4 letters. If he had wanted his name in 7 letters, he would have had the Hebrew in 7 letters and not just 4. These letters in English are just English letters to help us pronounce these 4 letters. That's what this is all about. It's not about using 7 letters or 6. It's just about to be able to pronounce these 4 letters. And when you add a W in here, not only do you confuse a lot of people as far as the way they pronounce his name, they will actually try to sound his name as Yahuwah. And I've heard that. And that's not how you pronounce his name. You don't add that W sound in there. This is the letter W is a modern invention. Only came into existence about the 13th century. And it actually came from this letter, the U. Because what is really a W? It's actually 2 U's. Double U would give you a W. That's how we get that letter. Actually, the W and the V in even our alphabet, U, V, W, they're all right next to each other. They came from that Hebrew letter. This letter here, referred to as a Uah, all the W and the V came from this letter originally. So again, there's no need to put in a W here, because you're only confusing people. I mean, if you do here, why don't you do it when you write out the word Yehuda? Why wouldn't you put put a W in there? All that does is causes confusion. It has nothing to do with this being 7 letters or 6 letters. It has nothing to do, because those are English letters anyway. His name is written with 4 Hebrew letters. And so we're just trying to talk about making the right sounds of how those letters were pronounced. I hope this has helped you, and let me know if it is. And thank you for supporting me. And share this with others on Facebook or other friends. Just send it to them via email or however you can. And hopefully that more people that are seeking to know the truth will find the truth. And I pray that that's what you're wanting to know is the truth, not to have what you have always promoted or thought, or hold on to any kind of tradition that you've held on to let go of those things. It's important just to get it right. I love you. Yahuwah loves you, and I'll see you next time. Shalom.